Beautiful. Everybody give it up for the jazz band today. Students from Newton North. Good morning, everyone. My name is Reverend Devlin Scott, and I am delighted to be your host again for this year. Thank you for having me. I'm so grateful to be here. On this third Monday of January every year, the federal and local governments and schools close up shop to honor the civil rights hero Martin Luther King Jr., who was assassinated in Memphis on April 4th of 1968. But the road to Martin Luther King Jr. Day was fraught. It didn't become a federal holiday until 1986, nearly 20 years after it was introduced to Congress. Even then, it faced an uphill battle for all states to recognize the holiday, only getting nationally recognized in the year 2000. To this day, it collides in Alabama and Mississippi with the Robert E. Lee Day, which honors Confederate general in Alabama, Mississippi. In Newton, the observance of Martin Luther King Jr. Day began at Myrtle Baptist Church soon after King's assassination. Myrtle Baptist shared this event with the entire city of Newton, and through the work of Reverend Howard Haywood, who served on the board for the Foundation for Racial, Ethnic, and Religious Harmony, aka the Harmony Foundation, we, in partnership with the Mayor's Office and an extensive list of collaborators, including the generous sponsorship of Village Bank, we now bring you Newton's 56th annual community celebration of Martin Luther King Jr. In 1994, through federal legislation co-authored by former Pennsylvania U.S. Senator Harris Woolford and U.S. Representative John Lewis of Georgia, both veterans of the Civil Rights Movement, and also worked with Dr. King, this day of celebration became the National Martin Luther King Jr. Day of Service, a day of community service that helps solve social problems. And what better way to honor the legend than to pick up where he left off? Woolford and others led some 3,000 volunteers in 150 service projects, along with corporate sponsors, community leaders, students, volunteers, and people from throughout the region, all to honor Dr. King's legacy and uplift the community as he would have on a day on of service and not a day off. And I am grateful to be able to say that this year in Newton, today is the day on of service and not a day off. Our theme this year is Everybody Can Serve, and we added to our celebration in partnership with this Service Stars and the Wayland School, the opportunity to spread winter warmth. Thanks to you, we have an overwhelming amount of people signed up to help prepare soups in a jar for hospitality homes and our local veterans, tea gifts for senior leaders or senior citizens, a blanket drive for a welcome home, and even a knitting circle. And as always, today we hear from local leaders, youth voices, all of your favorite local school choirs. We welcome our keynote speaker, Bentley University's president, Dr. E. LeBrant Crite. And a warm welcome to our new superintendent of schools, Dr. Anna Nolin, who is here with us today. So let's kick off today's celebration with the Black National Anthem, Lift Every Voice and Sing, sung by singer, songwriter, and one of our very own educators in Newton, at Newton South High School, Mrs. Katani Sumner. Let's give it up for her. Will we all please stand?
Thank you, Devlin. I was going to say, having gone to my first HBCU homecoming, they stand whenever this song is sung. So I appreciate you all standing as well, as this is a revered song in the African American community. Maestro. I was asked to give lyrics out, so I don't know. So you are all welcome to sing along As I tell choir members, fake it till you make it, or faith it till you make it. Whatever you need to do, read the words and move your mouth. Amen? All right, here we go. Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring. Ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun, let us march on till victory is won. Stony the road we trod, bitter the chastening rod, felt in the days when hope unborn had died. Yet with a steady beat have not our weary feet come to the place for which our fathers sighed. You guys sound great. Come on, breathe. There we go. We have come over a way that with tears has been watered. We have come treading our path through the blood of the slaughter. Out from the gloomy past, till now we stand at last, where the white gleam of our bright star is cast. You all sound good now. Somebody sing on the high notes. God, God of our weary years, God of our silent tears, Thou who has brought us thus far on the way, who has by Thy mind led us into the light. Keep us forever in the path, we pray. Lest our feet stray from the places, our God, where we met Thee. Lest our hearts, drunk with the wine of the world, we forget Thee. Big finish, come on. Shadow beneath Thy hand, may we forever stand true to our God, true to our native land. Yay, give yourselves a hand. Thank you. Perfect time for a land acknowledgement.
Wonderful. I'm sorry. Please remain standing. Up and down, up and down. What an amazing performance by Mrs. Katani Sumner. And all of you, thank you for being the choir. She was the choir master and director. Don't worry, folks, Mrs. Katani Sumner is coming back a little bit later with another performance. And I'm proud to introduce this next honorable gesture in today's event. There are certain things that simply should become the way of doing things, the new way of doing things. foundational to the way that we celebrate and create space in America. Acknowledging the very land that we gather on is one of those gestures. So please welcome Ruthanne Esposito, a youth activist and student at Newton North High School, as she leads us in the Indigenous Land Acknowledgement. And following that, we will have remarks from the Harmony Board as well.
Thank you. Can everyone hear me? Awesome. Hi, again, my name is Ruthanne Esposito. I'm very grateful to be with you all here today, and I'm also very honored to be giving this land acknowledgement. The Indigenous Peoples Day Newton Committee acknowledges that Newton, Massachusetts is on the traditional homelands of the Eastern Woodland Indigenous peoples. The indigenous nations that belong to this land are known as the Nipmuc, the Aquinnah Wampanoag, Mashpee Wampanoag, the Stockbridge Munsee Mohican Nation, and Massachusetts tribes. We respect and recognize it is a privilege to be living on these lands as guests. We acknowledge the trauma experienced over centuries by Indigenous people who live on these lands and continue to face injustice. We honor with gratitude those people who have stewarded this land through the generations and their ongoing contributions to the region. We also acknowledge that these lands are sacred to generations yet to be born. We thank all Indigenous peoples.
That's great. Good morning, community. Thank you, Katani, for that beautiful rendition of Lift Every Voice. Thank you, Ruthanne, for bravely acknowledging the people whose land we stand on and benefit from. On behalf of the Board of Directors to the Harmony Foundation, I'd like to welcome all of you to the 56th annual celebration of the life and legacy of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. My name is Ruthanne Loaiza, and I am joined on stage by my wonderful colleagues, Karen Manning, Tamika Ochensky, Reverend Devlin Scott, and Anthony Lagabo. Thank you to the members of the Planning Committee and our community partners for the hard work and energy you have poured into making today happen. Thank you to Dr. Henry Turner and the Newton North community for always being a gracious and collaborative host for this event. Thank you to our esteemed guests, students, parents, educators, and community members for joining us both in person and virtually. A special thank you to President Brent Cright from Bentley University for making the time to join us this morning. Every year, the committee is very intentional and strives to make this day not only about performances and speeches, but for it to also be a call to action to move our community forward. I must admit, this year's theme is very personal for me. As you heard, the theme is Everybody Can Serve. And those closest to me know that out of the many identities that I hold, being a public servant is something I cherish and hold very near and dear to my heart. It is my personal belief that it is in serving others, especially those who cannot pay you back, and sometimes even pay it forward, is how you stay connected and rooted in your humanity. I recognize how difficult this past few years have been for us collectively. The hurt, the pain, and the suffering we have been experiencing personally, locally, and globally have been overwhelming. And understandably, at times, it has caused us to lose sight of what really matters. And it is in these challenging times and moments that we are truly fortunate to have the words and the wisdom of Dr. King to guide us out of the dark times and into the light. And especially in this moment, to remind us that no matter our circumstances, our status, our station in life, we can push through, ground ourselves in love and compassion, and we can do something, no matter how big or small, to uplift someone else and to lend a helping hand to someone else. And it is in that spirit today, we invite you to celebrate, to make a joyful noise, but most importantly, we lovingly encourage you to serve with us. Power to the people.
We are blessed as a city to have so many wonderful students who can shine, and in our city, there's so many wonderful groups that we can acknowledge. And we're gonna hear from one of those groups very soon, but first, allow me to welcome our city's mayor, Mayor Ruthanne Fuller.
Good morning, everybody. Never a good sign to be in between the students, who are the voices that we really want to listen to. To Katani, to Reverend Devlin, Rhiannon, and Renand. Thank you. And to ZOZA, I love your little intros, and thank you for being here and lending us your time. I'm grateful. So, not just I, but all of us, I think, feel that it's a particularly important time in our lives to be here this morning, to be gathered together. And yes, as Reverend Scott said, for the 56th time, to celebrate the life, the work, the words, and the actions of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. For we must lift up his legacy today and his righteous and enduring dream of equality and equity. And I'm using his words, in spite of the difficulties and the frustrations of the moment. And I'm so pleased here in the first few rows, we have City Council President Mark Laredo, Vice President David Kalis is with us, Councilors Susan Albright and Rick Lipoff, Tariq Lucas, Julia Maliki, Pam Wright, Andrea Kelly, Andrea Downs. And we have with us a whole slew of our school committee members, Tamika Olszewski, Anping Shen, the Vice President, Emily Prenner, and I've got to go back to the counselors. There's a few more that I'm seeing. Counselors Martha Bixby, Vicki Danberg, Stephen Farrell, and Bill Humphrey. Thank you for being here. And Randy Block, thank you. I appreciate the coaching. Along with the superintendent, Anna Nolin, all of us are very grateful to Tony Legabo, Karen Madding, Reverend Scott, Renand Loaza, and everyone at the Harmony Foundation, who with an assist from Hattie Kerwin-Derrick, put together today's event. Well done on picking our theme for the year, Everybody Can Serve. It certainly embodies Dr. King's values and builds on his quote, this is him speaking, life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others? I want to link those words to a speech that Barack Obama gave, think of this, April 21, 2009. He had only recently been sworn in, and one of his first decisions as president was to sign a sweeping new act, actually named after one of our esteemed senators. It was the Edward M. Kennedy Serve America Act. I'm going to quote directly from President Obama's speech for a bit. Here's what he said. You don't need to be a community organizer or a senator, I love this line, or a Kennedy, or even a president to bring change to people's lives. When Ted Kennedy makes this point, he also tells a story as elegantly simple as it is profound. Again, this is still President Obama. An old man walking along a beach at dawn saw a young man pick up a starfish and throw it back out to sea. Why are you doing that? The old man inquired. The young man explained that the starfish had been stranded on the beach by a receding tide and would soon die in the daytime sun. But, the beach goes on for miles, the old man said, and there are so many starfish. How can your effort make any difference? The young man looked at the starfish in his hand and without hesitating, threw it safely back into the sea. And he looked up at the old man, smiled, and said, it will make a difference to that one. The president went on, quoting Obama, we need your service right now at this moment in history. I'm not going to tell you what your role should be. That's for you to discover. But I am asking you to stand up and play your part. I am asking you to change history's course. Put your shoulder up against the wheel. And if you do, I promise you, your life will be richer. Our country will be stronger. And someday, years from now, you may remember it as the moment when your own story and the American story converged, when they came together and we met the challenges of our new century. So as I look around this auditorium, as I think of the people who lined the hallway earlier, as I think of the people across our villages, and I think particularly of our students, some of whom are here, some of whom will shortly be on a panel. I know, thank goodness, so many Newtonians are putting their shoulders to the wheel and trying to meet the true challenges of our times. I want to give a shout out to India Arnold and the Newton Community Development Group, Ellie Axe of Story Starters, Kate Carpenter-Bernier and the Newton Youth Success Collaborative, Cindy Green and Forge, the Newton Rotary Club, the Village Bank, Hospitality Homes, Cradles to Crayons, Welcome Home. These people are serving here in our community, not just this morning, but every day of the year. I also want to give a special shout out to ZOZA, our all-city Troubadours, the Jubilee Singers, and a particular thank you to the president of Bentley, President Reid, for being here with us. And I will close with one more quote from Dr. King. Quote, an individual has not started living until he can rise above the narrow confines of his own individualistic concerns to the broader concerns of all humanity. Thank you to everyone who takes the time to lend a hand, to save a starfish, and to give their time, talent, or treasure to serve the broader concerns of all humanity. Thank you.
I just want to say something that I think is pretty cool. I just realized it while I was sitting backstage. Every year when I'm a part of emceeing this, I get to hang out with the cool dudes over in the band, right? And I just realized that last year, hanging out over in the corner with me was Zeev, the guy who is actually this year conducting the group of guys. So he was hanging out in the backstage. That's when we first met. He wasn't playing last year, and he was supporting his friends, but now he's conducting the group. So good job, man. Really happy and proud of you. Again, as I spoke before, not only do we have the wonderful talent of these individuals here on the stage playing this wonderful music for us, but we have so many opportunities for our students to shine in this city. We have this all-city traveling and performing ensemble, which becomes the youngest of our talented and remarkable student body here in Newton, singing United in Purpose and Shed a Little Light. Please welcome the Newton All-City Troubadours.
There's a feeling like the clenching of a fist.
There is a hunger in the center of the chest.
There is a passage through the darkness and the mist. And though the body sleeps, the heart will never rest.
Shed a little light, oh Lord. Shed a little light, oh Lord. So that we can see. Oh, now. Light, oh Lord. Just a little light, oh Lord. Wanna stand it on up. Stand it on up, oh Lord. Stand it on up, oh Lord. And now. Wanna walk it on down. We'll just shed a little light, oh Lord. Can't get no light from a dollar bill. Don't give me no light from a TV screen. When I open my eyes, I wanna drink my fill from the well on the hill. There is a feeling like the clenching of a fist. There is a hunger in the center of the chest. There is a passage through the darkness and the mist. And though the body sleeps, the heart will never rest. Let us turn our thoughts today to Martin Luther King and recognize that there are ties between us, all men and women living on the earth. Ties of hope and love, sister and brotherhood.
Morning, everyone. Before we sing our next piece, I'd like to acknowledge that the Newton Public Schools is currently in a contract negotiation. And I'd like to tell you a little story about why it's so important that we fund our public schools on Martin Luther King Day, a day in which we should be acknowledging the fact that public education is on the very forefront of what Martin Luther King was fighting for throughout his lifetime. I teach at Williams Elementary School in Auburndale. Is there any people from Auburndale in the audience today? Hello, welcome. I do sincerely hope that your children also had the opportunity to go to Newton Public Schools. One of the things that will really, really help our children grow right now is more adults in the room to meet their needs. Many children who grew up going to preschool on Zoom severely lack the social skills necessary to function and learn in a kindergarten classroom. At our school, Williams Elementary, enrollment has gone down. Our kindergarten class, one of them is only 13 students. And though there are only 13 students, they feel a lot more like 30 sometimes. I'm a music teacher, but in my planning time, I typically go up to Tom Joyce's kindergarten class. And when I do, what I see is Tom holding a student by the waist as he teaches them their letters, B, B, boy, while another student is standing on a table. And I'm holding another student on the rug who, if I let him go, is going to go tackle another student in the classroom. There's only one kindergarten aide for our 2 kindergarten classrooms, and she obviously can't be in both places. So myself, as a music educator and not as a kindergarten teacher, that's what I do on Wednesdays when I have free time. So I do sincerely hope that you all will advocate, along with myself, for having a kindergarten aide, more than one person in our classroom to take care of our children, amongst other things. Thank you.
Time and time again, the stories of people of color are swept under the rug and lost. It is about time, I believe, that we find those stories. Lost and Found is a cabaret-style show featuring stories of people of color by people of color at Newton North High School. The show is a compilation of original and published poems, songs, monologues, and scenes. The goal of the process and show is to provide a safe community space for students of color to express themselves and tell their stories through the performing arts. Here representing the dazzling talents of Lost and Found is soloist Sharon Tackey.
She wore her pride like a dress, I swear she wore it well. He fell out of Eden once and he'd gladly do it again. Such a stone cold-hearted man with a bitter woman on his hand. Those daddy issues, they never end well. Mothers, hold your daughters and your sons. Fathers, show your children how to love. You gotta take their hands and lift them up again. Love your children. Love your children. Mothers, don't you know the pain you've caused your sons? Daddies, don't you know some hurts can be undone? So be careful what you sow. You're gonna reap it soon. Just be careful or they'll end up just like you. Mothers, hold your daughters and your sons. Fathers, show your children how to love. You've got to take their hands to lift them up again. Love your children. Love your children. This is for the ones suffering alone. This is for the people in a house that ain't no home. Hurt people, and they can be the worst kinds of worst people. Ain't been doing what's been done, just in telling everyone. Truth is God so loved the world that he gave his only son. Mothers, hold your daughters and your sons. Fathers, show your children how to love. You've got to take their hands and lift them up again. Love your children. Love your children. Thank you.
Awesome. Awesome. You can check out the next Lost and Found full production. I think it's happening this Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday here at Newton North High School. I imagine you can find some information about that. Adam Brown is here, who's a part of Theater Inc. and helps run that here at the school. And perhaps in the lobby, you can find out how you can get tickets to the full show. Awesome. We typically have Jubilee each year, but this year they were not able to make it. And so we acknowledge their involvement each and every year, but hope to see them back here with us next year. Dr. King said, everybody can be great because everybody can serve. You don't have to have a college degree to serve. You don't have to make your subjects and verbs agree to serve. You only need a heart full of grace and a soul generated by love. Every year, we feature the stories of students on this stage. The purpose is not to entertain or to provide some sense of pageantry. We believe the stories of our students, our culture drivers, our justice seekers, should fill your heart with grace and regenerate your soul with love. Their stories should provoke us to change. So let's listen deeply and act promptly to what we witness in this student roundtable discussion of student leaders. Please welcome Miles Goddard, Clarissa Gonzalez, Norma Thomas, and roundtable facilitator Sebastian Gaines.
Good morning. My name is Sebastian Gaines. I'm a 17-year-old senior here at Newton North and one of the presidents of the Black Leadership Advisory Council. I identify as Black and Latino, and I will be the moderator for the student panel today. We encourage you all to be open as you listen to student voices from the community. I will now turn it over to our panel to introduce themselves with their name, age, grade, and how they identify.
Hi, I'm Naima Thomas. I am 18 years old, and I'm Haitian American.
Hi, my name's Nia. I'm 17, and I identify as African American.
Hi, my name is Clarissa Gonzalez. I'm 17 and I identify as Afro-Puerto Rican.
Hi, my name is Sarah Dorval. I'm 17 and I identify as Caribbean American.
Hi, I'm Miles Goddard. I'm 17 and I identify as biracial.
What role can teachers play in creating a classroom atmosphere that supports students from various backgrounds? What would you have liked that they have said or done instead?
I actually have an example. So in class, I made a statement on how you cannot be racist towards white people. And the teacher, like the kids started going like a little antsy about it and like getting on me. Mind you, I was the only person of color in the class, so I felt attacked. And the teacher couldn't really handle the situation right. And I feel like teachers should be equipped and educated to issues on race and racism. And it would be helpful for staff to have more training on issues like this and be able to intervene and support in the moment. And it needs to be mandatory during free time that they have, like tiger blocks. Like they should focus on that because we end school early for them to have meetings.
Code switching, do you feel like you have a choice?
Okay, so for me on code switching, it happens naturally. So like growing up in Boston and then also going to school in Newton, it depends on who I'm around. So like obviously when I'm like around white people or like teachers and like faculty or like parents even, I'll tend to talk in like a higher pitched tone. And I will like switch my words and my vocab. But then when I'm with my friends and when I'm comfortable, I tend to like, you know, like talk different and like actually like act how I am. And so, I don't know, like growing up in Newton public schools, I've had to do both depending on where I am. And I feel like I as a person shouldn't have to switch who I am to like please other people. And I'm not just blaming it on like other people, but like on myself, that it feels like I have to switch in order to be or like feel accepted in certain communities.
Are there specific challenges that Black and African American students face in accessing educational resources or opportunities within our community? And how can we address these challenges?
Yes, so students and kids will assume that because I am Black, that means that I am in MECO or I take the bus to school. If you guys don't know what MECO is, it is a program that takes Boston kids to school for better opportunities in education. I feel as if they group all Black students under one umbrella and forget that we are all different, have different backgrounds, and have different identities. So taking the time to acknowledge us as who we are as individuals and not just our skin color would be very beneficial.
Another thing that goes hand in hand with that is like punishments. I feel like sometimes we do receive like the shorter end of the stick only because like our color and how people treat us. Another thing I would say is like the way teachers treat us in classrooms. They think we're less than, or like we need to be talked to like in a different tone or in a different setting, and like everything has to like be included with our parents and stuff, and they don't really come to us one-on-one.
What small changes can we implement to ensure everyone feels valued in our schools?
I think first that we should definitely add more Black teachers into the education system. It's like the past 10 years of my life, I've only had one Black teacher. In the middle school, there was only one Black teacher in the whole school. And then also in our own school, we have to put more pressure on incidents that have to do with racism. We are very like lenient on it in terms of like hate on Black people and just hating minorities in general. So I feel we have to put more pressure onto those incidents and hold the kids accountable.
How can we involve students in the decision-making process to better understand their needs and perspectives?
First, I think we should start by not making assumptions about our students, be more inclusive with opportunities. For me, I got the opportunity to interview and choose a house secretary for our house office. So we asked them questions. We had different candidates, and then we came to a consensus on who we wanted to, be the face of our grade. And the person we ended up choosing was a person of color, and I think that was a good decision just based on how this person interacts with not just students of colors, but students of other ethnicities and just in general. Was a very, I think it was very meaningful. I can speak to this for most people, just growing up not having very many people, like educators of color, kind of be there for us. I think this was really nice to kind of have that for our grade.
Thank you all for dedicating your time to be present and attentive today. Your active participation is truly appreciated. As we conclude, we invite each of you to take a moment to reflect on the valuable insights shared. May these reflections inspire you as you continue your journey, prompting thoughtful consideration of how you can positively impact and serve others. Thank you.
I just want to be sure to acknowledge once again these students. This is Miles Goddard, Clarissa Gonzalez, Norma Thomas, Sebastian Gaines, Sarah Derval, and Nia DeBarros. Let's give them a hand again. I really appreciate the stories of students. I think for groups like this, I oftentimes want to remind us that when we hear these stories of students, we're not just hearing the stories of young people in a high school, we're hearing the story of individuals, people who have voices. These are real stories, and they're not just happening in the high schools. I identify with the code switching. I get it. It happens. I'm often reminded of the unintentional now space I take to disarm people when they see me as a Black man. I'm the first one to speak, and I smile really big to say, I'm safe. I'm one of the good ones. But I shouldn't have to do that, right? But that's our culture, that's our world. So one more time for our student leaders. I hope we heard all the things they are doing. A lifelong educator, Dr. Nolin has worked in the education field since her undergraduate studies. For over the past 25 years, she has served as a middle-level educator, a drama director, grant writer, and a technical-focused curriculum developer and consultant, and education leader in the Metro West region of Massachusetts. Throughout her long career, Dr. Nolin has held various district leadership roles, finally ascending to the superintendent in 2018. She recently transitioned to the Newton Public Schools to become our first female superintendent of schools. Please give a warm welcome to Dr. Anna Nolin.
Good morning, everyone. How are you today? Ladies and gentlemen, and parents, students, my colleagues from Newton Public Schools, principals, I see all my governance partners and city council. Thank you for allowing me to be here today in this important event. Indeed, it's a warm snuggle for all of us on this cold day. I'm going to continue a tradition that I have done for the last 15 Martin Luther King days. And in my house with my children and my grandson, we don't take selfies, we take lovies. We take pictures of things we love. So could we put the house lights up? And I'm going to take a picture of what I love, which is the Newton community. So stand up, say hello to the people. Stand up. It's also learning science. You've been sitting a long time. Say hello to the people behind you. Give a little fist bump, an elbow bump. Say good morning. All right, and give me a big Newton fist bump from my lovey that I'm taking of you. Say good morning. All right, it's in the history books. Have a seat, thanks. First and foremost, I want to praise and thank the wonderful Newton student performers here. Thank you so much, and our student speakers, really proud of you. And I also want to thank their parent, caregivers, teachers, the support staff who make the education of our young people and these moments possible. And as a longtime middle school English and theater teacher, I was often the person with the singing groups. I'm also a clarinetist, and I was part of the jazz band. These are the things that I remember from being a young person in school. So they are extremely important parts of the work that we do here. Thank you also to the Harmony Foundation for making this event possible. It is a lot of work to make these days come off, and you are modeling the service for which this day has a theme for service. So in Martin Luther King Jr.'s Drum Major Instinct speech, which is the speech that inspired the theme for today, he emphasizes the importance of being a drum major for justice, peace, and righteousness, rather than just seeking personal accolades or attention. King encourages individuals to lead through service and selflessness, using your life to make a positive impact on others and to contribute to the greater good of society. He challenges the desire for recognition and urges a commitment to serving humanity with humility and love. And I stand before you today with a heart full of gratitude and a deep sense of responsibility as your school superintendent, completing 27 years into this life of service towards children and the youth of Metro West. I am so pleased now to turn all of my heart, my passion, and my intellect to serving Newton. Newton is a very special place. And this community of ours is woven into a tapestry of diverse threads, each one contributing to the vibrant fabric of this community. And today's theme transcends our differences and unites us. Everyone can serve. In the spirit of Martin Luther King Jr., who reminded us that anyone can be a drum major for justice, I invite you Well, really, I challenge you, each of you, to embrace the power of service. And service is not bound by our politics or geography. It is a universal language of action and care that can bridge gaps and heal any wounds we are suffering. It's challenging times in which we live, and the most important service that we can offer to our community is to listen and lead with empathy, to try to heal the divisions caused by trauma, inequities, racism, politics, conflict. Our world and our city is grappling with some very complex issues: political, financial, and legal tensions locally and nationally, to wars abroad, and to the internal, emotional, physical struggles within ourselves and among individuals. These challenges have created divisions within our community, but I implore you, we can rise above that discord and focus on what unites us, our shared commitment to the well-being and success of the Newton community as a whole, which from my perspective and in my role means that we must serve our young people well and first so that they can take on the mantle of leadership in the future. That's my plan. I will serve this community by building the programs, the staffing, the training, and the total experience of the Newton Public Schools so that we can build our future leaders. As we try to navigate these times, though, I have a few pieces of advice for us to ponder on this day of reflection and service. We should promote understanding with empathy wherever we go and take time to understand the different perspectives of others. We heard that from our students just now. Engage in respectful conversations that foster empathy and promote our unity. It is through that empathy that we will stop taking offense at disagreements, and we will unite to serve our children well. Get involved in community healing. Newton is a very active city, and you should continue that, whether it's organizing forums and open dialogue or participating in community events. Just being here together breaks through the isolation that many people have felt in years past, especially during the COVID years. And it is that constant connection that is the healing that we need towards unity. Get involved in sessions like our upcoming Profile of a Newton Graduate sessions. Yes, a shameless plug. Next week, Wednesday and Thursday night, Wednesday here at North, and Thursday at South at 6 o'clock, we will be discussing our positive hopes for the future of our young people in the Newton schools. It's an exciting time, and we should be swept up in the vision of what they will have in their future. Encourage inclusivity and reconciliation. Create an environment that celebrates diversity of viewpoints and culture, languages, ability, intellect, religion, race, family compositions, and the individual identities that compose Newton residents and create that beautiful tapestry I spoke about earlier. Embracing the richness of our diversity in this city will help our community create a culture of acceptance and reconciliation. Stay informed and be discerning. Be informed about the world around us, but be discerning of your sources of information. A well-informed community, united in the pursuit of truth, is better equipped to find common ground, seek face-to-face discussion, and check in to find our common humanity and truths. We can all be drum majors for justice, peace, and righteousness in this community, and by serving one another with open hearts and minds, we'll build the bridges that'll span any divide. What better service can we give to our young people than to promote and embody this type of service and leadership right now? Finally, in the words of Martin Luther King Jr., everybody can be great because everybody can serve. And together as one Newton community, we should strive for greatness through this action and growth and harmony to support the children. Thank you for your commitment to our students and to the ideals that bind us together. It's been a privilege to be here today. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Nolin. We're great to have you here. Grateful to have you here in Newton. Dr. E. LeBrett Crite is the 9th president of Bentley University, a premier business university located just outside of Boston, Massachusetts, focusing on developing successful, ethical leaders who will confront the challenges of today and shape the opportunities of tomorrow. Crite is committed to individual and institutional capacity building efforts to ensure that today's workforce and their organizations are positioned to compete in the global innovative economy. He has dedicated his career to developing students' adaptive capacities, encompassing effective communications, self-reflection, narration, and awareness, in addition to the exquisite technical and computational fluency required for the 21st century marketplace. Cricht completed his undergraduate work at Michigan State University, his Master's of Science at the University of Missouri-Columbia, and his PhD from the University of Michigan. Please help me welcome our keynote speaker, Dr. Brent Cricht.
Thank you, Reverend Scott. To the City of Newton, its MLK Event Committee, to the Harmony Foundation, to my friend and colleague, Ruthanne, and of course to Reverend Scott and these amazing students, I bring you greetings, along with my enthusiasm for the opportunity to share in some small portion of this most auspicious day, Newton's 56th annual Martin Luther King Day celebration. I'm honored at this opportunity to fellowship with you, and I appreciate this invitation. I'm thankful for this time with you, in addition, because Bentley University's celebration for Martin Luther King takes place on January 30th, deliberately timed for when our students return from winter break. So I'm fortunate to have two occasions to pause and reflect on the legacy of Dr. King. For 38 years now, Bentley has celebrated Dr. King with a student-driven program that seeks to inspire and challenge our community. This year, for the first time, we've canceled a full day of classes and will offer 9 hours of dedicated programming, including dozens of workshops, panels, and discussions to advance our collective understanding of and commitment to justice. So back to the reason that we're here today. I note, as has already been affirmed, that the theme of this year's MLK celebration is everybody can serve, having a servant's heart. And that it is anchored in Dr. King's February 4th, 1968 drum major instinct speech. The speech endures for many reasons, not the least of which is its poignancy and its prescience. Oh, thank you. Having the opportunity to deliver that speech just 2 months before his assassination contributed to its staying power. Service and leadership are principles that have been integral to my professional development and to my career and life trajectory. So I've appreciated this opportunity to reflect on these ideas at this time, and I am reminded of our collective obligation toward this end. Like everyone else joining us today, I remain deeply inspired by Dr. King. But I'm not just inspired by his elegance or by the fact that he challenged conventional order or that he spoke truth to power, or by his relentless tenacity, or even that he willingly gave his life for a cause in which he believed, though any of these attributes would be worthy of history's enduring admiration. What is most inspiring to me about Dr. King is that he was imperfect, flawed, that he struggled with his own frailties and insecurities. And this should give us all hope. Dr. King's principles and sacrifices have been monumentally influential on my life. I must admit, however, that my ability to reconcile his extraordinary legacy with many of the contemporary conditions of this great nation is far more circumspect. And I struggle to understand how the country has, as I see it, retreated so considerably from Dr. King's vision, and how so many of our current normative behaviors seem entirely antithetical to his examples of moral courage. I believe we, as a country, have sadly forgotten the painful lessons of the civil rights period, a time which so galvanized the nation and the world. 60 years after the first freedom rides, right-wing, often violent, nihilistic extremists are not only re-emerging in the American body politic, but in many circles across the country are defining a new political center of gravity. After years of historic tumult, cancel culture, racial violence, mass shootings, wokeness, the war against wokeness, a global pandemic, rising food and income insecurity, emergent nationalism, and wars and violence around the world, it seems necessary that we commit to critically reflecting on our collective stewardship of Dr. King's legacy, to take account and to be accountable for our nation's inability to fulfill its highest promise. There's a West African Akan word, Sankofa, meaning at least colloquially, to go back and fetch it. To go back for what's been left behind. At this time then, as we come together in honor of Dr. King and his legacy, let our celebration of his life be our Sankofa, an intentional act of remembering, an intentional act of remembering that requires us to look back to the antebellum South, to Reconstruction, to Jim Crow, to the Civil Rights era in order to see forward. And if we are wise, perhaps we can, with God's grace, leverage these lessons of our not too distant past toward the creation of a better tomorrow through humility, selflessness, and service. That we need to look back to go forward is not merely an academic construct. Whatever your position, for example, on what we informally refer to as D&I or critical race theory, we should appreciate that it is largely an attempt, albeit in many ways a deeply flawed one, to exorcise the ghost of lost cause historiography and the consequences, the legacy, really, of America's inability to bridge the enduring chasm between history and memory. I'd like to share some thoughts on Dr. King and America's legacy. I accept, and I accept that others don't, that it is almost impossible to critically reflect on the many shortcomings within our society without a thorough and rigorous analysis, a reckoning of 400 years of history that has so profoundly shaped and defined much of our national psyche and circumstance. Our nation requires a new racial reconciliation paradigm that is more nuanced and that leads to a discourse that is less no, but, and more yes, and. We must reconcile our historic inability to bridge the persistent chasm between history and memory. While I do not believe America is a racist country, racism is prevalent and arguably dominant, a feature in its historic embrace of black and brown people. Dr. King asserted, and I quote, that we are perhaps the only nation which has tried, as a matter of national policy, to wipe out an indigenous population, end quote. In his seminal work on the Civil War in American Memory, the esteemed historian David Blight reminds us of how, for decades after the Civil War in American culture, romance triumphed over reality. The sentimental remembrance won over ideological memory, end quote. And I can't help but wonder whether America can ever escape what Blight refers to as our mythology of mission. But looking back, for many Americans, is painfully difficult and fraught with the capriciousness of recollection and interpretation. In his recent book, The Age of Anger, Pankaj Misra reminds us that human identity, frequently seen as fixed and singular, is always manifold and self-conflicted. It is within these contradictory notions of self and nationhood around which we must ultimately learn to coalesce if this great country is to fulfill its highest aspirations. As a political thinker, Perry Anderson writes, and I quote, "We all stand in need of a historical vision that believes there is a deep logic in the unfolding of time," end quote. For Black and brown communities, much of the unfolding of time appears breathtakingly illogical and, in many ways, wholly anathema to the most fundamental cornerstones, fairness and opportunity, that have for so long represented the foundation of our democracy. As Ta-Nehisi Coates wrote in his groundbreaking 2014 article on reparations, the shining mark of America's shameful legacy is the persistent wealth gap between white and Black Americans. This past is deeply present in the current reality, and here, King's leadership serves as a beacon. In the words of Taylor Branch, author of the sweeping history, including Parting the Waters, America and the King Years, 1954 to 63, Dr. King expressed empathy with the lives of millions over eons and the life of a particular child at a single moment. King established a kind of universal voice beyond time and beyond race, end quote. As my colleague Joe White reminded me, for every leader there is a what and a how of his or her work. The what of Dr. King's work is well known and well remembered in ending discrimination, fighting injustice, combating poverty, bringing respect to the poor and dignity to the despised. But the how of Dr. King's work has, in my view, been too quickly forgotten. It is viewed through the prism of a nostalgic, grainy, black and white past that no longer feels relevant in today's complex, instantaneous, social media saturated world. And herein lies our opportunity. Dr. King's how was simple and unique and effective and timeless. Combine a deep sense of outrage with a personal commitment to nonviolent change. Service. It was an approach that transformed our nation, and it transcends time and geographic boundaries. Now, make no mistake, I remain bullish on America. And much of this is a function of the inspiration I receive from our young people, many of whom we just heard from today, including many of the students I work with at Bentley. I am in awe of their compassion and empathy as it relates to issues of race, identity, and otherness. I'm proud of their commitment to the planet and to the pursuit of purpose as opposed to profit. Though I have no trouble with young people pursuing profit. I do run a business university. Especially if that profit is leveraged in part for a greater good. And I regret that younger generation carries a very heavy burden left primarily by my generation. I happen to love this country, and as such, I will continue to call out and try to address some of its many flaws, as Dr. King did on so many occasions. There is nothing new in our efforts to balance our fidelity to this great nation alongside our well-earned frustration for her shortcomings. One of the country's greatest orators and statesmen, Frederick Douglass, was one of the first to articulate such sentiments. Douglass realized that America's founding crime did not discredit American ideals. It demonstrated the need for their urgent and radical application. He insisted that the Constitution was a glorious liberty document. He drew encouragement from the great principles of the Declaration of Independence and the genius of American institutions. He challenged the country's hypocrisy precisely because he took the founding principles so seriously. 160 years later, President Biden affirmed that great nations come to terms with their dark side. So how can you love a country while also knowing the crimes and moral shortfalls that helped it come to be? By relentlessly confronting hypocrisy and remaining mindful to the transformational power of American ideals. These are principles that King bravely affirmed, and today it is time to rediscover in ourselves our capacity for outrage and our personal commitment to service and sacrifice. For me, reflecting on Dr. King means a sense of means a sense-making of sorts, of reconciliation, if not a complete reckoning of past, present, and future, and our own obligations to improve the world around us as manifestations of our outrage. Let me share some lessons that I hope might guide us toward this end. So I start with Maya Angelou's maxim, do the best you can until you know better. Then when you know better, do better. I start with this because I realize that I have the benefit of age, and I hope some wisdom along the way on which I can count on to inform my decisions. So I want to leave you with 3 broad requests that I believe are broadly aligned with today's theme of everyone can serve. And they actually resonate with much of what we heard from previous speakers. First, commit to engaging actively in a cause that is greater than you. Be purpose-driven and passionate. We are not all called to live on the front lines of crisis, nor are we called to run a company, launch a startup, write a book. But each of us is called in our own way to use our unique gifts to elevate the human condition. Only when we do so can we truly fulfill our highest and best aspirations. I suggest again that such a path is buoyed by history and memory and by Dr. King's legacy. For most of us, it doesn't take much time to mentor, to provide comfort and support, to volunteer at a Boys and Girls Club, spend time with the elderly, read to young kids. You don't need to just write a check, although you can certainly do that as well. As Marian Wright Edelman said, and I quote, "Service is the rent we pay for the privilege of living on this earth. And we must all pay our fair share." And for most of us, that rent is overdue. Second, I suggest that we all commit to something that should be relatively easy. Become dedicated and intentional toward a more universal display of empathy, compassion, patience, understanding, and love of our fellow citizens. Now, I appreciate that sounds cliched and trite and even a little quaint. And I don't suggest it easy, but it's the ideal antidote to the gaslighting, the tropes, the enmity that has become a byproduct of our 24-hour news cycle and the predictable political animus. And if Martin Luther King Jr. can express empathy and reason and submit to nonviolent engagement with white citizens' councils, the KKK, racist police in the Deep South, then we can certainly work to embrace those with whom we disagree. Think about it. How we engage one another, how we behave toward our fellow citizens, is one of the few dimensions of our lives over which we can claim total agency. How we act in the space between stimulus and response is completely up to us. Third, and finally, challenge yourself to understand and perhaps to even engage in ideas that differ from your own. There's growth in this. There may be a wide selection of media sensory stimuli available today, but most of us subject ourselves to the barrage of like-minded news, information, and punditry. That's the easy thing to do, and it's self-fulfilling. We can start by seeking clarity as opposed to certainty in the world. Too many of us hold these simple, narrow, binary views in which it's either us versus them, or right versus wrong, or good versus evil. And these cognitive distortions belie the complexity and the ambiguity of our environment. As Maggie Jackson writes in her new book, Uncertain, The Wisdom and Wonder of Being Unsure, during difficult times, we're often unable to integrate information that doesn't fit into our narrative. Individuals are either racist or anti-racist. Cops are either good or bad. All racial differences result from racism, etc. This is not, of course, to suggest that we should not hold dearly to our core beliefs as individuals, but it does offer that the embrace of ambiguity in a complex world, as opposed to being defined by a singular emotional response, is an important step in reminding us all of our shared humanity. So, thank you for your time. I appreciate this opportunity to be with you and to share in the City of Newton's annual Martin Luther King Day celebration, and I wish you all God's abundant grace, peace, and blessings. Enjoy the day.
Stay up here. Once again, everybody, let's thank Dr. Cripe. Wonderful, challenging words. I want to take this quick moment to also thank all of those who are part of our community fair, which I invite you all to be a part of right after this, happening right in the foyer area. The Newton Youth Service Collaborative, the Newton Community Education, Newton Police Department, the John M. Berry Boys and Girls Club, Fusion Racial Justice Ministry, Forge, Families Organized for Racial Justice, Indigenous Peoples Day Committee, Story Starters, and The Second Step. Also, we have catering from Sandwich Works, and we thank Jeff DeBoni for that, as well as the French Press and my guy, Jay Spencer, for that as well. Closing us out is Miss Katani Sumner.
Thank you. I'm not sure why we need the screen. That's not for me, right? That's not for me. The screen? No, I don't need the screen. Thank you. So, I don't need you to sing along for this one, but thanks, guys, for offering. So I just want to say I'm honored to be here. I'm thrilled as an educator in Newton for now this is my 24th year in education, almost 30. Thank you. I also love being here, and I recall the last time I had to sing, Hattie, I had to sing with a mask. Where'd Hattie go? And I could barely breathe, and I'm like, I'm not doing that again. So I'm so happy I don't have to wear a mask today. I have to acknowledge some really significant people here, particularly in my life as well as the Newton Public Schools. I want to shout out Ms. Lisa Gilbert-Smith, who's the METCO director here. She's doing amazing work. And my role at Newton North is as a METCO counselor as well as the director of Legacy Scholars. And my partner at North, he is amazing. Where's Blaine Lopes? Is he still in the room? Mr. Lopes, where are you? No? Somebody get Mr. Lopes back in here. All right. So I'm happy to be the finale. Thank you so much, Dr. Crite. I was like, why am I singing last? But this is appropriate. I want to shout out you young people. Now, you know I have an affinity for anybody who can rock a fedora. So I see you. I see you. And just real quickly, if you are a student, I've been privileged to work in almost 30 years in 3 different districts, K through 12. I also have a background as a literacy specialist. So if you are a student K to 12, can you just stand up so I know who my audience is for this song? Just let me see you. Is it just right here? All right. Okay, I see y'all, some in the back. All right, thank you. Well, this song is dedicated to everybody, but particularly the young people. Thank you so much. It's called The Greatest Love of All. Made famous by somebody who y'all might not have heard of, Whitney Houston, because y'all kind of young, but it's all good. I hope you've heard of her. Google her. Yeah. I believe the children are our future. Teach them well and let them lead the way. Show them all the beauty they possess inside. Give them a sense of pride to make it easier. Let the children's laughter remind us how we used to be. Everybody's searching for a hero. People need someone to look up to. I never found anyone who fulfilled my needs. A lonely place to be. And so I learned to depend on me. I decided long ago never to walk in anyone's shadows. If I fail, if I succeed, at least I live as I believe. No matter what they take from me, they can't take away my dignity, because the greatest love of all is happening to me. Y'all can smile. I found the greatest love of all inside of me. The greatest love of all is easy to achieve. Learning to love yourself, it is the greatest love of all. I believe the children are our future. Teach them well and let them lead the way. Show them all the beauty they possess inside. Give them a sense of pride to make it easier. Let the children's laughter remind us how we used to be. I decided long ago never to walk in anyone's shadows. If I fail, if I succeed, at least I lived as I believed. No matter what they take from me, they can't take away my dignity, because the greatest love of all is happening to me. I found the greatest love of all inside of me. The greatest love of all is easy to achieve. Learning to love yourself, it is the greatest love of all. And if by chance that special place that you've been dreaming of, it leads you to a lonely place, find your strength in love. Thank you.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you, Katani. If anybody's ever seen Coming to America, I was this close because of Tamika to come up and say, "Sexy chocolate," you know, if you've ever seen the movie. If not, Google it, go see it. Great movie right there at the end of that. Thank you, Katani. Great job. The tricky part of serving is the posture one takes during it. The service you render is not for you, but for the person you serve. But be very aware that even though you are serving someone, you will learn more from them while you're serving them. And that's the posture we should all take. I still believe our city is poised and in need of all of us to serve, to meet this very moment, to serve by doing good and seeking justice. So for another year of a successful and soul-stirring celebration of Dr. Martin Luther King, I thank you for joining us. Please do stick around for the community fair and refreshments. I'm your host, Reverend Devlin Scott, saying go in peace and shalom.